Hey there, Alex Kidman here, and this very big beast, ooh, where did I go? Here I am, is the Asus Zenbook S16. Let's get into the review. So you just can't escape the phrase AI PC these days, and the Zenbook S16 is part of that range. In this case, it's an AMD-based AI PC, and that has some implications for both performance and what it can do for AI and what it can do into battery life. Let's get into the review by first of all talking about this rather nice design. So look, if the designers of the next Star Trek series, and let's face it, there will be a next Star Trek series eventually, always perpetually, want some kind of cheap and easy lazy prop, they could do a lot worse than to pick up the Zenbook S16, because from the outside, whether you get it in its grey or white implementation, it's got that kind of Star Trek look to it. It's wrapped in a ceramic aluminium compound that Asus calls ceraluminium. Terrible marketing term, but it's this really nice matte finish. The lines look good. I really like the visual design of this particular laptop. The only thing I will say, and this is probably coming through on the video, is that it really does love picking up fingerprints. It loves a fingerprint and loves keeping a fingerprint. So if you're fussy about that kind of thing, you're going to need to keep a microfiber cloth handy. Flip the Zenbook S16 open and you're greeted with a fairly standard Windows keyboard. Because this is an AI PC, there is of course a Copilot key on here. I don't mind the typing action on this, reasonably quiet, not a lot of travel if that matters to you, but I had few problems in writing up this review and doing a whole bunch of other work on it in that score, and I am fairly fussy about my keyboards. I could have wished for slightly larger cursor keys if I want to be picky about things. But I guess all of the large in this particular laptop went towards the trackpad because it's massive. It basically goes from the top of the laptop all the way up to the keyboard with virtually no space in between. Some people will really like all that expansive space. Some people might find it interferes with the way they type, or might not like the fact that it pushes the keyboard a little bit further up. It's a taste thing, I suspect. I did like the fact, and this is neat but not essential, that the sides of the trackpad by default will adjust volume on the left or brightness on the right if you slide your finger up and down them. Nothing that you absolutely have to have, but it's a nice enough little feature to get, I suppose. It's all built around a 16-inch OLED display, and you can get it either as a touch/stylus sensitive model, which is what I've been sent for review, or as a non-touch model. From what I can gather, the Australian models are all touch models, but someone will probably import one. So if that is important to you, obviously, check for it. You get a reasonable array of ports on this thing, so dual USB-C, combo headphone, microphone, and HDMI on the left, and then USB-A and SD card reader on the right. That'll cover most people, although it is worth noting that because this uses USB-C for power, if you are charging the laptop, you're going to be using one of those USB-C ports, so maybe a USB-C hub would be a good investment as well. So in performance terms, this is built around one of AMD's new AI Ryzen processors. Specifically for this model that I've got here, it's the Ryzen AI 9HX 370, although, again, according to Asus's spec sheets, there's the 365 model out there as well. Can't speak to that because I haven't tested it, obviously. And a lot of the hype here is, of course, around AI performance and the NPU built into that. And look, this has the grunt to run AI, although I should point out that at the time of testing, this is not, strictly speaking, a Copilot Plus machine. So you won't find features like recall, not that anyone has recall right now, or the image co-creator or so on board with this, just regular Copilot for now. Asus does have a few AI features on this laptop. At the time of testing it, that's largely StoryCube, an AI image gallery app. And look, I've got to say, for right now, for on-device AI, I'm not exactly being sold on this being a hugely necessary feature in the general productivity space. Obviously, there are people doing some amazing things with AI right now. I don't know that this is the laptop for them. I don't know that we're yet seeing AI as a must-have feature across this style of laptop. But of course, the other bigger advantage here is that being an AMD-based machine, it's x86. It's not ARM the way that the Copilot Plus machines like the Surface Laptop 7 that I've previously reviewed are. And that means that in theory, it's compatible with every Windows application. Now, I say in theory because there are millions of Windows applications out there, and I don't quite have the time to test every single one for compatibility, although, oh, hang on, give me a minute. Nope, still haven't tested them all. Okay, look, silly jokes aside, x86 machines should be able to run most Windows apps. ARM-based machines, you've got a bigger problem of guesswork as to whether or not a given app will run or run well. But what does that really mean in performance terms? So to put that to the test, I threw PC Mark 10 at the Zenbook S16 to see how it would compare against a range of other laptops that you could get at this price point. This is not an exhaustive test by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm trying to give you an idea of what's possible given different architectures, essentially speaking. Now, it's not exactly a surprise that the more gaming-centric laptops in that roundup outperform the Zenbook, but it's still punching fairly solidly, and that is reflected in more day-to-day usage. I mean, if what you want out of a laptop is a lot of browser tabs open, maybe a bit of music going, a couple of Office applications, yeah, look, this will fly through that, no problem. Video editing, yes, that's entirely feasible too on this kind of CPU level. And on the GPU front, well, look, Asus isn't exactly hiding a gaming laptop in this thing. So to test that out, I threw 3D Mark's Time Spy at it, again, just to get some comparative scores. And here's how it compares. And look, that score does suggest, look, you know, your AAA titles at maximum resolution and frame rates and so on, that's not going to happen. But if you dial stuff down, yeah, this can work in quite a pleasing fashion. It'll run stuff, you can game on it, I mean, don't tell the boss, obviously, but it will work. And the more practical application of that is, of course, if you are doing things that do rely on that GPU, if you're doing video editing, if you're doing even some of that AI number crunching that might offload that work to the GPU, if not the NPU, then yes, all of that will run just fine. On the software front, it's a Windows 11 home machine as supplied to me, although there are Windows 11 Pro variants. I do appreciate the fact that Asus does not load this thing up with a ton of additional crapware, because I hate uninstalling that stuff. Is it just me? On the battery front, the Zenbook S16 ships with a 78 watt-hour battery that Asus claims is good for up to 20 hours of battery life. And look, battery life is always variable because it totally depends on the applications that you're running and how long you're running them for, how many of them are open simultaneously, all of that kind of stuff. So to give this a kind of comparative spacing, my standard battery testing routine is first a soft test, which is just a looping video test because video is really easy to process for most laptops, and then a harder test, which is represented by PC Mark 10's gaming battery test. Again, not a gaming laptop, I'm not pretending that it is, but what I look for here is a range of figures just to see how it compares. And here's how it stacks up in those two tests. And those figures are actually pretty good. Yes, it's not done quite as well as the Surface Laptop 7 did in the video test, but that video test is soft, it's easy. Most laptops will do pretty easy all-day battery life that way. If that's all you really needed, this would be total overkill at this kind of price. The gaming test, yes, it doesn't last more than about an hour and a half, but that is okay too, because most laptops tend to fall at that kind of level. I couldn't actually test the Surface Laptop 7 for that particular test because it simply won't run it, because it's an ARM-based machine. More anecdotal testing showed it falling at about the same level. And what all of that weighs up to is a laptop that generally should last through most basic productivity workloads over a course of a day. But if you are running stuff that is a little bit heavier, a little bit hotter, yeah, you're going to have to reach for the charger. And when you do, the nice thing here is that it is a nice little compact charger. It's USB-C, it's a GAN-based charger without a doubt, and it's really portable. So if you're taking this from meeting room to meeting room, or from office to office, or sometimes working from home and sometimes working in office, yeah, very easy to throw into a bag, very easy to top up the power on this thing and just keep on working. So should you buy the Zenbook S16? Well, look, it certainly has some appeal. I really do love that design. It's really nice. It's really slick. Looks great. Looks premium, which a premium laptop should. It's nice and light. Maybe not the absolute lightest laptop you can buy, but amongst 16-inch models, 1.5 kg is nothing to sneeze at. And don't sneeze at this too hard, it might blow away. Well, okay, maybe not that, but it's nice and light anyway. The performance is decent for most productivity workers, if not absolutely cutting edge. The display is decent. I quite like the keyboard. The port allocation is all fairly good. And the battery life is generally very good. Conversely, though, if battery life, for example, is your key determinant, then yeah, the x86 Copilot machines are not comparing to the ARM-based ones. That's not a surprise to anyone, really. But then you're playing, of course, that compatibility game, x86 versus ARM. The performance here is not the absolute highest you could get for this kind of price point, although that's often with laptops that have slightly less battery life. So there's a balancing game going on here. On the AI front, look, obviously what's happening with Copilot, what's happening with Copilot Plus is still developing, is still getting better. But I always advise people when they're buying machines to look at what a machine can do right now. Not necessarily thinking about, oh, this is what's promised for the future, because what's promised for the future might take ages to come. You're not going to get those benefits for some time, if at all. And right now, I'm not sold on the promises of AI PCs, but as a straight-up laptop PC, yeah, this is decent. Certainly worth thinking about if you need that kind of ultralight office productivity machine. Anyway, that's my take on the Asus Zenbook S. Got any thoughts? Hit me up in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.